Okay, so I played a set of games earlier. I've only done an hour today, and I played this game, and I was kind of lost after it. I can't lie. Um, so I just want to analyze this. It's another monkey game, and I want to talk about it. So I struggled a lot with Parisia. I played this map twice today, and I lost both times, which to me kind of just says that obviously I'm probably doing something wrong along the way, because you don't lose the same map twice in a row without there being some form of I'm doing something wrong. Um, so first things first, um, look at we'll start with our comp. So we're not really playing a dive comp. We've got an Ash who we can look for dynamites on engage. So when she throws a dynamite, we can look to see what sort of pressure that puts out. She'll likely be getting the Mercy Pocket, which says to us that these dynamites and these shots should hopefully force out cooldowns early. We've also got a Torbjorn who can put out relative pressure. So before we engage, it should be fairly easy for our team to be able to find some form of value in removing cooldowns. Um, whether or not this is the case, or whether or not that is a correct assessment from me, I don't know. Because I do feel quite lost after this game, so we'll see. And then Baptiste, he will be able to support me a little bit, but Baptiste heals can be tricky, is the word I'm going to use. It can be tricky for a Baptiste to support a Winston. Um, Again, my aim is to jump once I have an engage potential. So we're looking at Kiriko, TP, and Suzu, Ana, Sleep, and Nade. Maybe even a soft engage when we know that Hook is out. So those are the three big things. So that's what we're kind of looking at on our team. Now, on their team, we've already kind of went over it. Ana, Kiriko. Those are the two dive targets. If we were going to rank these, it would probably be 1, 2. Trace is a hard dive, so I'd say Junkrat 3, Tracer 4, Roadhog 5. These two make it particularly hard because they have got very little dive angles, which does kind of leave this back line as the only opportunity for a dive. And with a Roadhog, they can kind of sit at distance close to Kiriko Anna, although the best Roadhogs will find off angles to land hooks onto my squishies rather than prioritizing finding hooks onto me. But I do feel as if it's also possible to just say that a good Roadhog will now just see that we're playing Winston and will just sit on the back line, and therefore I can't get value while they still can. Um, so um, that's something to note. It's quite a difficult competition for me to try and dive into. I'm just thinking about positioning now. So Roadhog's got probably two options here. It's either the rotation under and onto point, or it's the rotation under and over and looping in, or maybe even the rotation under like that. But that kind of leaves the back line very exposed um, throughout the rotation, and Roadhog can't really peel for any sort of rotation. So I think that's something to look out for, is actually on rotations, we know that this guy is not supporting these guys. So Roadhog cannot peel for a backline as it rotates. That kind of requires the backline to either path safely, however they might do that, or that requires well, yeah, that's it. It's just the supports have to path safely, or they can't path at all. And I guess there is the option for them to play at range, but then if they play at range, then that leaves them open for a dive. Um,
Hey, catch!
so I guess I didn't really talk about this, but I'd say just the best position on this map to start defending is always um, right here, just where we're playing. Gives us a nice sight line onto everything that they're going to be playing, so immediately I can just pick out who are these four people. I might even spot this tracer on the left, which would be beneficial. And knowing exactly what they're playing gives me an opportunity to assess how I'm going to have to play off the start, whereas if I can't pick out what they're playing, then I have to work off assumptions and play slow so as not to get punished. Because obviously if they're playing uh, Zen Mercy, then I know that the backline is free to engage on. Um, so that's something important that we need to be looking out for. Obviously, we will have recognised the Roadhog. It's also important that we don't LOS our supports. We did that last time, that was the big note from last game, was don't LOS supports, so... Right now, and actually, we should be able to see this. Right now, as we can see, this Kiriko is by herself, and Baptiste is playing on high ground. Worst case scenario, we dive on this Kiriko, and she TPs away into the front line, where she's going to be coming under increasing pressure, and then we just jump back up. Or she doesn't do that, she probably uses Suzu to try and stay there, and we're in LOS of BAP, and maybe Hog turns around, or maybe he doesn't, and we force out Suzu, and then she TPs. And with a BAP peel, we can essentially guarantee that we're going to be completely fine jumping to this position. So just not recognising that as a dive target. And I even look at it, I stop to think about it and decide against it. And dive on dive target number 3 of 5. So, and now as we go down our Mercy, I have to back up into what is arguably an unfavourable position. It's a lot more open. There's no cover to back up into, so if Roadhog just decides to path into this room, he has got 3 sight lines. My BAP has stood out in main now, which isn't good. And no one down their supports, so it is just a get out situation. I decided to rotate inside, which is a safe position to play, and then go for the longer jump out. Didn't capitalise.
Objective
And again, I
lost.
would say that's being scared.
Stop the payload.
Scared of making mistakes to the point of making mistakes because we're being so inactive. And that's so important sometimes, is being active in a fight, because even if I jump in and I die, it's unfortunate, but we can train bad mistakes out easier than it is to just train activity, because as a tank you have to be active, otherwise you don't really get much value. Unless we're talking in scrims, I need to be optimizing to my own individual value. If I know that Baptiste is in position to heal me, then I should be making the dive onto a target that is isolated. If I force out a cooldown, then that's perfect, because then that Kiriko is now in a worse position than she was before. Ideally as well, it would have been a 5-second cooldown jump, so just land on Kiriko and then play behind cover of Car. And then if she uses Suzu or TP, then I could have jumped out and and held bubble, and then went for a full engage on an easier to kill Kiriko in position with a 5v4. So going into this position, or this point, we're currently down, so it's a 3v5. The Junkrat's setting up on low ground, which should essentially just give us free sightlines. It's a very one-dimensional poke that they've got going on right now, where they've got a soldier poking from this angle, and they've got a hog poking from this angle, and they've got a Kiriko poking from this angle, and they've got an Ana poking from this angle. And even though that's not they're all shooting into the same angle, is what I'm trying to say. They are stood in different positions and different levels of cover, which does make it a little bit harder to try and contest one of them. It is also important to note that they're not covering different angles, and I mean, even if this Junkrat just looks up and shoots up there, then it's all going into one window, which is something that I should be recognizing right now. Maybe not making a move on it because we're down, but I think I'm going to try and push out here despite being down 2, well, down 1. I believe I just
I see an enemy here!
Okay, so I've jumped up onto a high ground with absolutely zero cover, where Soldier, who is in a complete cover position, can see me when nobody else can see him, where Kiriko, who is in a complete cover position, can see me, but nobody else can see her. Ana, if she peeks out a little bit, maybe too dangerous. These 3 are the only 3 that can't do anything about me right now. Obviously, a dive down main into this Ana could be punished, I believe. Just the simple fact that we have a Junkrat who is mid-air, or who is going to be on low ground. I would be diving into a 4v1, so I need to wait a little bit longer before I do anything now, because I need to force out a cooldown.
I see an enemy here!
I'm going to start feeling Junkrat does just give me that kill for free.
Much appreciated.
Now, I missed this jump. I hear sleep come out. I know that we have our matrix. And as we can see, everybody's kind of backed up. So it's a little bit difficult for me to push up right now. I will most likely just be melted if I try and drop from this high ground position. And now what I'm finding is that I'm stood in a position that provides multiple angles from them onto me, but no angles from my support onto me, and hardly any opportunity for me onto them. I do back up. So Ana is down, nade. And she is down sleep, we just heard it.
Enemy contact! Enemy detected!
I've had to use bubble before dive as well, which if I'm having to pop bubble before dive means that I'm grossly out of position.
Feeling better? Regenerate! Watch your back!
Now, this lip is too big to clear. And this building covers, or provides a lot of cover. And currently, if we just look, we can see just how split up this team is. Where if I, rather than immediately just walking after a Junkrat, if I set up for a jump and I land on this Kiriko's head, as it is right now, if I land on her head, she will die immediately with a perfect land and melee combo. Maybe not even a perfect land, considering she's only got about 80 HP. Instead, what I have to do is just walk down, almost get slapped by Anna, pop bubble immediately. Junkrat just melts bubble because it's directly in her face, and Anna luckily dies to Torbolt, and now I'm forced out immediately where I wanted to full engage. I try and pressure this Kiriko. I drop down. I get fortunate to kill soldier. Say overall a lucky fight, if anything. And actually in this situation, this high ground that I was playing on earlier is absolutely perfect. Maybe not absolutely perfect, but it provides a lot of cover. It's out in the open, which means that Junkrat doesn't just get free spam onto me, and it gives me full opportunities. If I was playing up here right now, I could easily identify the fact that this Anna is out in the open, and if I land on her head, even if I get slapped, this Roadhog is not going to come back in time, because by the time that my bubble, by the time that I've landed, I will have dropped a bubble too. Although not perfect, I could even just M2 into her and alt fire and try and land some range poke to try and force her out. Overall, in this situation, the best decision is to just maintain that position that I had earlier, and now I'm coming back up to a window in which I get no sort of value. Outpaced by a Kiriko, and I've now jumped into a situation where I don't have bubble, and I've popped primal immediately to try and chase, and that's going to be the only reason that I live, if I live. My map knowledge of sightlines is the big thing for me right now. Actually, if you just go back to this now too, when I jump in, I just completely LOS my supports as well. Although it was a safe dive, so that is too big of a deal. In situations it will become a big deal. Just going into this recontest fight, it's going to be difficult. So just straight off the bat, this is the worst rotation that I could have possibly taken. It now has taken me out into this open space where their soldier is just going to have free reign, their hog is going to have free reign, their Anna, if she was alive, would have free reign. When there's a perfectly good high ground that I can come take that limits, if we play back here on this line, the only thing possible that could see us is something playing up on this high ground, or this top of doorway that soldiers in, or somebody else on this high ground who I could just simply jump onto, or I could jump up here and punish them. The best possible position to be playing in here would be the high ground, and I'm clearly not utilising that the right way. Back does go down early, which is unfortunate. I do eventually jump up to high ground, but now I've wasted my resource and I've got no way of engaging. And if I had that util, if I had that bit of engage tool earlier, I wouldn't have to jump up to here now, which is so late to make this jump, and we're already down a player. And our soldier just steps off and I've popped bubble. And now the cart is very close to being capped, and I jump
The
back,
payload has
and
reached
I haven't made
the
it.
checkpoint.
And I do get the kill. But it didn't matter, because I didn't get the cap, but they got the cap, so they're going to get quick respawns. And now we have to ask ourselves the next question, which is always, for a fight, it's quite hard to do it on this map. That's what I'm learning. Where do we play? I want to say the simplest answer is always just going to be high ground. We want to play on high ground. Our team, unfortunately, is not playing on high ground. But that does not reduce the effectiveness of playing on this space. We come up, we should be able to get some level of support from our team if we jump up onto a Reaper, we pop bubble, we bubble dance. Kiriko can TP up if we need help, or she can heal me from there. Baptiste can easily jump up and heal me from where he is. So high ground is where we're going to be looking at trying to play, obviously. This will be where I end up playing. Baptiste goes down early. But it's still only a 5v4. And I just jumped out into complete open space for no good reason when I could have jumped to cover. And I'm diving onto a Reaper. And because they've had a comp change, a little bit of a comp change, let's actually just reevaluate this. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even if I am with a Kiriko, I have just dived headfirst into a Reaper who has his Wraith ability, which makes him the most unkillable thing in the game for a Winston. Even if I bubble dance in and out, I have to deal with 250 HP of Reaper, and if he lands any shots, that number just goes up and up and up. In this situation, it is impossible for me to try and get the value that I want to get. And yeah, I'm still just seeing the best way to deal with a Reaper in this situation would just be to force him out by poking him with some long range charges, because I have got more distance than him.
What's up?
I jump onto Soldier. So at this point we're currently down just Kiriko. So Reaper drops off of high ground. I come back up. I try and challenge him again.
Well, you'll never guess who's been stupid.
Rowan,
Hello? Yeah?
I don't even know where to begin. I just realised you're on mute, and we just thought we'd fill you in. Quick question for you:
Yeah.
are wolves mythical?
Hold on, I'm currently recording. I'm just gonna pause. Okay, so I had to pause for a little bit there. Let me just get this epic pen toolbar back up. So in this situation, it's still kind of free to just play on the high ground. If I look at what resources I have, I have jump. This is too short of an angle to try and jump at. Although I would probably just bounce off the wall, so this wouldn't be awful. But I don't have bubble, and yet I'm still engaged in a position where even I probably can't recognize this at this very second, but there's a roadhog around this corner. I don't think this would be necessarily the worst time to engage because they're down their Reaper, their soldiers only just coming back from spawn, so this could be a time to jump in. If I just swap over here quickly, And we just look at F10. Anna has got both her resources. F9, Kiriko has got Swift Step. So in this situation, I should be thinking, I don't know what resources this Anna has, but I know for a fact that I don't have my bubble. You know, our Kiriko's only just coming back from spawn. Our Baptiste is dead. And I've got nobody else really in sight. I might be able to just about peek that Torbjorn, but this is a situation where there's so much unknowns. Where there we go, I become antied.
Be
I get
purified.
cleansed. I jump back in. I bubble. I pop primal, and now I'm caught out by this Roadhog. And this is a fight where I'm going to be punished.
Touching down.
And actually there I should have saved my bubble. Sorry, I should have saved my jump, because I forced out or baited out hook, so I could have waited a second and then jumped away. But I didn't. This is usually the Doomfist for stall swap, but not that it'll matter too much. Okay, now we want to look at this from the attacking perspective, which I've discussed, maybe not for these odds, but I've considered it before. Like, how do you go about attacking these positions? We kind of just talked about it then. Just letting that fade, that little lower third thing fade away. Okay, so control I, pen. Okay. So we've got a stable course set up on this high ground. They've got an Anna who can peek them from that long distance. So Anna is split off, but not really in a dive range. Immediately, the pathing that I look at in this situation is, if I path round right side under, go for the rotation through, and then I path under, and then I dive onto Anna, and then obviously they will have some sort of reaction to this, whether or not that's dropping down low. But it's a hard choke to push through, where you kind of have to either go for. There is the third option, which I discussed three possible options, where this just straight under route, I kind of basically said no, we shouldn't be doing that. That is never going to be an option, almost. But maybe in a scrim with the Diva, I could walk straight under, and I just defense matrix everything as we go under. But for the positioning it gives us, it doesn't really provide much value. I guess this position in here, but that is completely happen chance. It doesn't mean anything in this scenario. So here, I guess the options are I jump up to this high ground and try and have to face tank a Roadhog and a Junkrat, which just really is not an option. I can push under and go upstairs. I don't really have the means in which to do that. Would be a big peel item, such as a shield like Sigma, or Reinhardt, or a defense matrix like Diva. You know, Golden or Javelin spin like Orisa. But even if all they have to do is hold this high ground, and they can realistically just pressure a Winston out. Because the Winston just does not have any sort of sustain. And if I was to try and push this stack here by going under, and then I drop bubble to keep people up, then we then have to cower in this sort of cover position. And have to then cower in a cover position there. That's only if we don't get punished on the rotation, because we don't have any sort of peel for rotation either. While they could freely poke us from here, or somebody could jiggle peek in and out of that little doorway that is there. So I don't think there is any other option besides a rotate under to point, and then that's where we find ourselves on an Ana that is completely isolated, who, worst case scenario, pumps sleep into us and then is either forced to stay up here and maybe even rotate back in, which would probably be the best play that this Anna could make if I jump up to her in this hypothetical. But what most Annas would end up doing is they would drop down main and into the team. I think the only thing is, if we don't control some level of high ground here, what will be the case is they can then set up a sort of infinite angle crossfire of they've got a soldier playing there, and then maybe they'd have somebody playing there, and then they could have somebody playing here and here and here. Because they just have free access to everything then, and then this point is so heavily high ground controlled that no matter what happens, if we just try and rush point, the best we could get out of it is maybe a tick, and we would have to have something in place to try and punish them once we force something out of them, because we don't have any sort of sustainer. Bubble with 700 HP is not enough to completely deter 5 people. So just trying to really think about this and trying to understand what the best play is here. I think maybe brute forcing our way round full left and then under and then up and then onto bridge, and then trying to land on this Kiriko and throw bubble down might be an option. And really try and pressure this Kiriko out. I think additionally, I think just trying to brute force it or hoping for a pick. We don't win a poke battle though in this situation. We have got some pretty good poke options, but considering what I have, I need to try and make some sort of value. We aren't playing in a scrim environment where it's okay to sit around and allow DPS to take control. We need to find our own individual value. And I think in this scenario, individual value is probably going to come from either a rotation under onto Anna or a brute force onto high ground. And I think the safest option is Anna, because we land on this Anna, we get the kill, and then we can either path back out, or they might have dropped and then we just use the cover of high ground that it provides us, where you can't really be seen from anything on low, especially if we tuck in really tight to a corner. And wait for our team to take up the space that we've made, or I drop down onto point from there, and then I can try and rotate back out when I force them to drop through point pressure. So I'd say that is the best option, after just giving it a little think over. So I've wasted bubble and I've taken a lot of damage already because I tried to push through main for some unknown reason, but our Zenyatta does manage to find a pick on Junkrat. Now what I should be looking at is that this high ground is free for the taking, so I can literally step back, jump up to high ground, land up here. I might get caught by a trap, but it's 3 seconds and their Junkrat is in spawn for another 9 after that. And I will make the rotation round. I'll instead jump up to this high ground, which is fine. Could have been punished by Roadhog, so maybe just take it a little bit slower, we can stabilise after pick. And then they all drop down. I rotate to the high ground for free positioning. Chase Kiriko, force out TP. And an aid comes out, but it's fine. I had bubble. And Kiriko will get grabbed, but the way that I've stuffed choke there with bubble as well has forced breather out. We can see it getting popped here already. It's forced wraith out, which means that this follow-up should be completely free, because now Suzu's even out, which means the Reaper free kill, Hog free kill, Suzu out means Kiriko free kill. And I should land this kill on the soldier. If I don't, no I don't. That's okay. I think I can essentially already pick out my big mistakes though here, which is it's the same mistakes that I was making with Junker Queen, where I'm not pathing properly. You know, if I was trying to contest this high ground, I'm taking the lazy option, which is, well, Winston has got this insane mobility option, so I can just walk through main, taking shots from people playing up here and 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 down main, and then I can just jump up and use bubble, and I'm being extremely lazy with the way that I am approaching an engage, where I'm forcing myself to use cooldowns like bubble or take damage and, you know, depleting resources in order to get there, when I could be more clever with my rotations, path in positions where I'm going to take minimal to zero damage, because it is possible to path from place to place without taking damage. And then once I've made these rotations, I can just I can get a free engage on the backline with a jump, land on their heads, and try and follow up with the combo plus a bubble, and that would get me to the elimination. And I think it's something that can very easily be worked on, because I've already worked on my pathing with Junker Queen. But I feel as if my have a right to engage is still not quite there, but it's a little bit better, and my jumping in without support is a little bit better too. I just need to consider pathing onto a backline a little bit more, rather than taking the lazy option, which is just jumping through all of their faces, which doesn't really lead to a good dive. That just leads to a low resource dive, which can't be followed up on because we're down HP before we've even landed. So pathing before dive is just like the big note, and I'm going to continue to watch this just in case I'm not finding everything that I need to find off of this. And I think I still have some things to work on, such as LOSing supports. Like right now, I've already taken, 50 damage, and I'm nowhere near even in position to get healed by supports. Supports get flanked.
Much appreciated.
And actually here, I'm so split with making my decision when there's just a free dive onto the back line. And then if I land and I've got 5 seconds to get out, I land here, I bubble dance, stay for 5 seconds, jump out, and then I can path back to my team who I know are going to be playing on cart, because that is exactly where they're playing right now.
Power overwhelming.
Instead, I decide to go engage
Much
a
appreciated.
Roadhog in his face, and it doesn't really lead to anything. And now Hog is still free to engage because he's got a backline. And then I sit on high ground trying to poke against a soldier and a Kiriko. When again, I have all my resources and I could just jump in on a backline. But instead I'm deciding to play at a range out of cover and doing nothing. And now I'm going to drop down onto a Roadhog rather than trying to pressure his Ana. I'm going to get antied. I'm probably going to get punished for it. Yeah. Okay, what is the perfect fight here? And I say we do probably one more. We'll do this fight, and I feel as if we're probably just going to be going over similar notes. But the pathing here is obviously pathing to high ground. What I should be looking at as well though is that soldiers playing up here, and although it might not be a perfect rotation, if I just make this jump to here and then I can try and work my way using my mobility to get to this position here, or here, which will allow me to just freely poke on Anna in the back line. Obviously, these two are holding the door so aggressively that it's difficult for us to just walk as Zenyatta through this position without being punished. I mean, another thing that I could do is make the call out to rotate through this building and up and drop bubble here, and it should just provide a free walk up this high ground. But ultimately the end goal is to be ending up on a high ground here. I mean, even if it's just something as simple as I just dive straight from here to here and land on this soldier and push him out, and then step back. Kiriko's there for heals if they're trying to push up. Then I can either dive out or I can dive onto a backline. I'm not taking opportunities as well. Awareness, where is your team? That I'm gonna take that down. Actually, no, I'll take state of the fight down. And I've now got 3, 6, 8 sticky notes here. Some of them specific to Winston, some of them specific to Reinhardt, some of them notes that I should be taking from everything. And I think right now, the biggest thing is though, I'm not even really working on everything that I'm trying to work on. And a lot of the time I'm finding myself not really improving in certain areas. So I may have to up the amount of time that I play every day before a VOD review, or focus on things a little bit more and get the most out of my 2 hours. Those are the two biggest things that I would say I can notice, but that is it for the self VOD.